How's it going, people of the JSA? Welcome to another Stargirl Season 3 Episode 4 breakdown, and the plot thickens this episode. Just in case you didn't know already, and some of you may be wondering about a couple of missing videos, such as my House of the Dragon review, or even my Andor review and whatnot. I've been away for the past several days, so I scheduled a few videos. So if you're wondering about other breakdown videos, those will come. And if you couldn't tell already from my voice, I'm feeling a bit sick. Typical, get back from a few days off, so bear with me if my energy is low, trying to caffeinate myself, but not sure if it's working. But today's episode, it was a really interesting one. A, because I've been wanting to get into Icicle Jr. since like season 1, but also the murder mystery aspect, of course. You know, who is the killer? And we had quite big developments this episode. Of course, at the end of this video, just want to remind people I will be likely getting into the promo, as always, for next week's episode. But the beginning of this with Cameron, with some tranquil music, it was kind of very Christmassy. I don't know where he got that snow globe from. I don't know if he deliberately made it himself, because the person in there was very much, let's just say it was Courtney. You could argue that it was a snow globe with a person who just happened to look like Courtney. But either way, it was kind of freaky if you think about it. It's like, yeah, I got a snow globe with a person in there who looks just like the girl that I fancy, I guess you could say. The very beginning of this was just to once again reiterate that Cameron is trying to get a little bit of a hold on his powers, but it doesn't exactly work out. But through with Courtney, as the episode unfolds, he's learning to, just kind of like the cosmic staff, if you harness your positive emotions, you might just be able to get through. We also have his grandparents come in, and they're like, you are blessed by the fallen lands of Niflheim, and bless our grandson so our enemies might suffer. Yeah, no wonder that Jordan Markent turned out the way he did. But of course, we can't forget that Starman went to the scene of the gambler's murder at the end of last episode. He got completely wrecked by getting flown up into the air, landing on his face. This is when Cosmo woke Courtney up. And, you know, God, there's so many things to talk about this episode, because as to why Cosmo knew this. She finds Starman completely wrecked. There's an unusual puncture wound, so it's not exactly a blade that stabbed the gambler through the heart. It's more like an animal claw or like a spike or something like that, or something from Dragon King or Cindy, of which obviously a big portion of this video and what I want you guys to contribute down in the comment section about is just who could have done that, and what kind of misdirects are they throwing our way. And this is when we had good old Charles McNider come in, of which we got a couple of explanations here. But also, before I forget, around about this point as well, we got another zoom out of the CCTV. To be honest, it just felt like the same scene of what we saw last episode. We zoomed out, and then we saw the same gloved hand, and I don't know if it's a trench coat or not, but again, I am pretty sure that this figure is Mr. Bones. It is interesting that they're deciding to keep him ambiguous, assuming, you know, let's just say for the sake of it, this is Mr. Bones, keeping him hidden, because we did actually see him, as you're seeing on screen right now, at the end of last season. But I guess, you know, it's been a little while since last season, and we don't know for sure, but yeah, this is probably Mr. Bones and Helix and whatnot, just really watching all of this unfold in Blue Valley. But what's another fascinating aspect to me is with regards to what is Mr. Bones' involvement, because we thought that maybe he was controlling a monster. That was kind of the latest developing theory. What if he did dig up Grundy, unbeknownst to Rick, who thinks he's still underneath the ground, but Mr. Bones put the dirt back, making him think that Grundy's still there, and he's just watching this all unfold. But now we have, you know, the possibility that Dragon King or Cindy, who's currently hulking out into her own Dragon Queen mode, I doubt Mr. Bones would be in charge of that, as we originally thought with whoever is killing could be controlled by Helix / Mr. Bones. I know I'm going off on one right now, but it just is now making me think that Mr. Bones could just literally be observing rather than controlling. Now, when Charles inspects Starman Sylvester's injuries, he's like, this is very peculiar. His wounds are healing incredibly fast, and it's astounding. He thinks that he's realized how he came back from the land of the living. My only critique here is that I would have liked some kind of further explanation to this, because he's just like, okay, goggles on, I'm inspecting your wounds, and I think I know how you've come back to the land of the living. It must be the cosmic energy. The staff, it imbued you with that. But it's like, I get it, and I like this explanation to an extent. It's just, it's kind of like me, and I know Charles McNider is a smart guy, and he's got the goggles, but to my recollection, there wasn't anything saying, oh, well, cosmic energy is flowing through his body, or whatever, in that moment. But it's kind of like me looking at someone and be like, haha, yes, this is that, and it must be that, without any investigation into the how or if or, you know, whatever the cosmic energy is doing to reanimate his corpse from 10 plus years back at that JSA ISA death match that happened, which wiped Sylvester out. Maybe a little bit of a nitpick for some people, but it just felt like a quick kind of line of dialogue so, you know, we could get some investigation into that. But at the same time, I do want to say that just because they've chucked out this explanation through Charles McNider, that it might not be the actual investigation, because we do have Sylvester Pemberton's rage. That is something that is a little bit of like this side effect from him coming back, a little bit of a teaser for the promo that is once again leaned on Sylvester Pemberton's rage in next week's episode. But anyway, Charles goes on to say that the energy is what healed him over the years when he was in some kind of stasis. Basically, long-term exposure to the cosmic staff has altered Sylvester's physiology, and I guess that means Courtney, well, not right now, because to be fair, Sylvester did have the staff for quite a few years. But now I'm thinking, does this mean that Sylvester can just not die if he gets killed again? Will it take another 10 years for him to resurrect? I don't know. But I do want to reserve what I placed or what I mentioned before, that even though this could be half true, there could be the side effects from being reanimated through the cosmic energy, which is making Sylvester a little bit different. I did dig the aspect of just like how we had Jenny, Alan Scott's daughter, become a living lantern, is akin to that with Starman being fused with the cosmic energy for so long, but I still stand by that. He could have, like, okay, but how are you coming to this? Maybe take a skin sample and it's like infused with cosmic cells and ionizing cell molecular physiology, Spider-Man intro kind of DNA changing stuff. That would have been cool. This episode as well, we had, and this has been going on for a couple of episodes now, but it was emphasized in this particular episode, a bit of back and forth between passing the mantle on, or, you know, maybe not passing the mantle on, or what do I do here? Because McNider here says that he's got more satisfaction out of passing his mantle on to Beth Chapel when Sylvester asked that, you know, don't you miss being Dr. Midnight? And towards the end of this episode with Pat, and there were some really good moments there, he's still like, okay, maybe I should just leave it in the past, you know, the glory days when he was much younger, when he got the staff off of Ted Knight and whatnot. It's just, you know, he feels like he's screwed up until this point, but then, I know I'm jumping to it, I love Pat. Like, this whole episode, MVP again, he's just encouraging, he's optimistic, he's rational when it comes to it, and he was just still, despite Sylvester's crap, to be honest, we can't forget, yelling at him, he's still always stood the moral high ground here, and he gets a new suit for Sylvester later on. And I was hoping it would be slightly upgraded, but I'm not remotely annoyed by that, because the original Starman suit that Joel McHale is we've seen him in since season 1 does look really badass. By the way, he's still continuing to be Starman, but I'm predicting as things unfold, potential, you know, new screw-ups happen, and he just thinks that I can't carry on like this. I'm not nearly the man I was, even if it is down to the cosmic energy bringing me back, having a bit of a side effect of rage control or something like that. Because what I said last episode, long story short, is how could he have got anything done if he was this impulsive and rage filled back in the JSA days? So I am expecting us to lean into that quite a bit more, possibly amounting to finally the decision being made that I have to let it go, because me operating out in the field like this, I'm just too dangerous. I keep losing my head. Now this is where we pick up with Yolanda and Rick. They're talking about, could it be an old enemy of the JSA, kind of like Eclipso, going after them one by one or whatever. But this is where we get Yolanda's mom come in, and she's still a bit, to be honest. I can't put it any other way. Just give this girl a break. Either way, this is when we cut to the team at the trailer, going over what Sylvester was trying to do, find any new clues, and just before they're about to leave, Beth Chapel does pick up a singular skin cell. And initially this doesn't turn up any results there and then, other than it's not Sylvester's skin cell. But when we cut to that scene with Charles and Beth together, the skin cell identifies as not human. And this is where Charles busts out something kind of unexpected for some, but I have seen some comments there saying, I can't remember who commented this obviously in my previous videos, but some of you have said that Dragon King is coming back. But Chuck is just like, I seem to recall a result like this before. One of Pat's old enemies, one of ours, and yours. And he's like, Beth, it's Cindy's father, Dragon King, or Dr. Shiro Ito, I believe is the way you pronounce it. I could be wrong there. But either way, Dragon King. Is it really though? They want us to think that, and this is where we get into quite a bit of speculation. So the JSA, as they're back in high school, are like, you know, is Dragon King, you know, really the new suspect now? The prime suspect? We have Courtney say, well, Dr. Ito did experiment so much on himself that he might be unkillable, and that's fair enough, because they could regenerate limbs and whatnot. But this is where things get even more interesting. We cut to Cindy in the ISA HQ, and now we finally likely know what that potion she took was about. She's in constant like pain. She's almost like contorting her limbs, and obviously with combined with that ending scene, we see that she's got a bandage over the dragon scales. They kind of put it a bit too on the nose, as if the audience wouldn't really connect things. I felt like, come on, give the audience a bit more credit when they overlaid Beth Chappell's voice of, oh, a singular skin cell, you know, trying to make you think, okay, that Dragon King skin cell could actually be Cindy's, but it's like, you know, come on, a bit obvious. But either way, they're trying to make us think now that since Cindy here is really trying to keep, and this also makes sense to what we've seen in previous episodes. I was initially thinking that Cindy was trying so hard to prove herself that she knew a little bit more about the murder. That's why she's spending time down in the ISA HQ, but now it's more obvious than ever, and it's put on a platter for us that the reason why she's trying to access Dragon King's private file is so that she can maybe get some information on how to stop this hulking out Dragon Queen mode that she's entering, because clearly she's transforming. She's reaching a certain age where Dragon King, one of his former experiments, probably planned for when she hits a certain age or whatever, she's then got to go through this, and she will probably end up looking just like her father. So she's very desperate to try and stop that before it happens. But just because the skin cell of Dragon Kings, if you will, was found at the trailer for the Gamblers, doesn't mean that Cindy is the killer. Now, I may be saying the obvious for a lot of you here, but it could just be that Cindy's little bit of a skin cell landed there, and Dragon King is still very well probably dead. But I do feel a bit of empathy for Cindy, because obviously we know that she is trying to change, but here, you know, you see her eyes flash over like a lizard or whatever. We know she's got the lizard skin coming, and she's just trying to prevent it. I do want to chuck in the possibility that I'm sure many of you have considered already, that Cindy could be the killer unbeknownst to her, or for example, when she hulks out in lizard mode, she just doesn't know it, and that's why the skin cell was left at the scene of the crime. But I'm still not sold on that. They could be really wanting us to think that, but really it is just that Cindy was there first, she didn't hulk out, someone else still did kill the gambler, but the only reason that the Dragon King skin cell was left there is because when Cindy was there, one of her skin cells, when she was still in human form or whatever, landed there. It doesn't mean that she hulked out and killed the gambler and then tried to kill Sylvester. Again, I don't think she would have done that deliberately, even if that was the case. So I still am leaving the table open that it's not Dragon King, he could still be dead. It's not Cindy, even though a skin cell was left behind. And considering the possibility that yes, she could hulk out in lizard mode, and that could be a thing, I still don't think it's that. I think they're trying to make us think that. So who else could it be? But to be fair, at the same time, maybe I'm trying to look too deep for another answer, and the answer could be as simple as what we're realizing in this latest episode, that Cindy is transforming. She doesn't want to kill people, but the Dragon King lizard brain, you know, Dragon Queen side is making that happen. But I just feel like that's just the latest thing they want us to think, given the skin cell at the scene of the crime. Let me know if you think there's another theory that we're going to find out about, or do you think that could be it? But meanwhile, with Mike and Jakeem, we didn't really see much of them after we found out that they heard, or Mike heard, that Dragon King could be the killer, so they want to go down to the ISA tunnels to see if he's still chilling there. And they wish for the key. That doesn't exactly end up well because the bathroom door just blows open with a bunch of keys. But the last we saw of them, since they want to prove themselves to be taken seriously, since they feel like no one does, their idea is to go... I know they're kids, so I think it's fair enough to say this is a stupid decision. But to be fair, he did say that he wanted to go there with Stripe, which is smart because I just felt like going down there as two young high school kids against a Dragon King, this is what they're comprehending, is pretty suicidal. But at the same time, they didn't want to go down there with Stripe. But it seems as though, and what I wanted to jump to, this connects to the promo, that they went down there anyway, perhaps without Stripe. But up next with Cameron, we have his grandparents take away his art for just some time, I guess. But I guess they're just trying to get rid of any distractions, and for him to just wallow over that, he needs to focus on his cryokinesis powers, or whatever they called it. We have that moment I've been waiting for with regards to Courtney goes after him at high school, which is when he completely Icicle hulks out and the whole room gets frozen. Icicle shards grow from the floor. This was all pretty cool, but Courtney was being very supportive. Obviously to Cameron, he's quite surprised by this. He's like, why are you, as a normal person, being so receptive to this? And Courtney's just a little bit like, well, I kind of know about you having these powers through your father, basically. And I'm Stargirl, and I kind of had something to do with that, but you don't know it, which was also confirmed here. He says that his grandparents told him it's a gift their family have had for generations, cryokinesis, and they want him to carry on his father's legacy. Now, the bad thing about this is that he thinks that his father was helping people, and in one way, in his suit mode with the Blue Valley projects and stuff, it did seem like he was, but we know there was that crazy-ass satellite project that he was trying to do and brainwash a bunch of people. I just hope that wherever this story goes, that Cameron as Icicle Jr., after learning that Courtney did have something to do, even though it was Mike, with her father's death, that if it is explained, hey, your father was doing this plan, brainwashing people, trying to kill me and multiple other people, like, it's pretty clear cut. You should hopefully understand with that recollection of events why you shouldn't go mad at me now and be an evil future Icicle Jr. But, you know, this is TV, so I just feel like even though he's trusting her now, he's letting his guard down. When they went for a walk later and they kissed and whatnot, he let out his positive emotions through thinking about his father and his mother. But it's just so transparent, I feel like, where this could go, and I want it to be a bit more interesting and well thought out than what I pitched a second ago with how he believes his father died trying to help people. Like, he's essentially being brainwashed by his grandparents to think that his father was the protagonist in this story. But ultimately, the whole his death wasn't an accident. He was killed. They won't tell me. And when he finds out that Courtney, or, you know, the fact that she's in the JSA had something to do with that, do you guys think, let me know down in the comments, that he's gonna be like, "Ree!" and then just go mad? Or do you think it'll be a bit more complicated than that? Because I'm really hoping for the latter. Some of you may argue that you're not in your most rational mind after you find something like that out, but I don't know. I guess time will tell. Yolanda and Rick go to find Courtney. They bump into Sylvester in the basement and say, yeah, like, we found out that, you know, the skin cell could be Dragon King, or is Dragon King, so he could be back and could be the one who tried to kill you. And he's like, right, let's go down to the tunnels, let's suit up. And yeah, this is going to lead to a little bit of an interesting episode with regards to what we see in the promo. So in that promo, we see quite a lot of suited up Starman in action, and we see him go down into the tunnels. But we hear Rick and Yolanda say, Sylvester's great, but he has a temper, which is when we see Starman insanely pissed in the ISA HQ, saying whoever did this, they're gonna pay. And he cosmic staffs the ISA painting of all the members. Now, I have a little bit of a theory here that this could be him getting insanely angry over potentially Jakeem and Mike on the floor wounded. Obviously, they're not gonna die or anything like that. But if they're going down into the ISA HQ, we have Rick and Yolanda like, oh my god, man, calm down. And while Sylvester's going crazy, whoever did this, they're gonna pay. You have to think, like, what could make him so mad? Like, in the ISA HQ. The only other thing I can link to that is that Mike and Jakeem wanted to go down there. So unless Cindy really is hulking out without realizing or being able to control it, maybe she did unintentionally hurt Mike and Jakeem in that lizard brain Dragon Queen mode, which is why Sylvester could be going crazy. But again, I expect that he's going to go too far in some way, shape, or form. But that's all there really was to the promo. There's not too much to say about them. They're so quick, and that's it for episode 4. So I enjoyed this episode. I like how the plot is thickening with regards to what is going on. They throw one thing our way, but then you do question it, especially with the theme of this season. Like, I can even question the Starman explanation behind what Charles McKnight has said, but then also what is really going on with Cindy. Is the skin cell Dragon King's, or is it hers? If it is hers and she's hulking out in Lizard Queen mode, I bet it's not really her doing it intentionally. But then again, what if there's something else behind that? Is Mr. Bones involved in this, or is he just monitoring it? I mean, he could just simply be monitoring it, right? But what's so interesting about that? If he's just sat there eating popcorn, what is really the game there for his character this season? So you have to think there is an extra layer going on. We do still have whatever's going on with the Shade, and then there's theories with regards to Jenny's brother Todd and his abilities in the comics. So this is what I mean. There's a whole bunch of spanners thrown in the mix here, or wrenches, whatever you want to say, that it is keeping me quite entertained. So I would love to know your thoughts on this episode down in the comments below. Also, leave a like on this video. It really does help boost it out there in the algorithm, get some more Stargirl fans out here. But I think that's just about everything from me in today's video, guys. So as always, links are in the description down below. If you want to support me a bit more, there's a join button. There's also a super thanks button if you want to go the extra mile. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll see you people of the JSA in the next video. Goodbye.